Well, hello again, everyone. Happy New Year and welcome to our latest webcast from Travel Weekly that we're bringing you as part of our continued Roadmap to Recovery series. And I'm really pleased that once again we're joined by Steve Heapy, who is, of course, the Chief Executive of Jet2 Holidays, jet2.com. So morning, Steve. How are you?
Morning, Lucy. Very well, thank you. A bit more cheerful than on previous chats we've had.
Well, I mean, it's remarkable, isn't it? We're normally moaning about stuff, but actually last night, the government made a decision that was very positive news for travel. This is with regard to scrapping some of the testing that has been in place since the emergence of the Omicron variant. Tell us, how you feel about that initially, Steve.
Well, my initial reaction is it's what we've been asking for some time as an industry. It's a step in the right direction. But it is just that. It's a step in the right direction. There's a lot more for the government to do. But what it's done is made travel less expensive because there's less testing required, and it's taken away the worry that people might get stranded in resorts. So it's increased the level of confidence for people to make a booking. So from 4 o'clock tomorrow, if you're coming back from holiday, you don't need to do a pre-departure test, which is great news, save money. You've got no risk of being stranded abroad. And when you get home, if you're double vaccinated, you don't have to go into quarantine and do your test and wait for the result. You have up to 2 days to do a lateral flow test.
Yeah.
If that's positive, you have to do a PCR test. So again, people can go straight back to work when they get back from the holiday. Yeah. And of course, they don't have to pay for an expensive PCR test because despite assurances by members of the government, PCR tests costs are still stubbornly high.
Yeah.
So it's good news. And I think people, I don't think people, I know people now have more confidence in order to book a holiday, because from 4 o'clock yesterday, the visits to the website, the bookings, went through the roof, and we saw a very good response. And we're continuing to see that this morning. So it just shows people do want to get away. Yeah. I was looking out the window yesterday, feeling a bit miserable. Obviously, I was in the north, and it was cold, wet, dark, miserable.
It's not much better down here, Steve.
And I just thought, well, it's been nearly 2 years now. I want to get away. Now you think of all the testing that was in place; it's a hassle. But I'm thinking about, and I'm sure a lot of people are thinking about holiday now. Yeah. So it's great.
Okay. I want to come on to the reaction from consumers in a second. But in terms of the testing, we obviously saw. Well, we heard rumours that the pre-departure test was going to be lifted, but were you surprised that the PCR was scrapped as well? Because that sort of perhaps wasn't rumoured as much.
Not really. I mean, as an industry, we'd had several meetings with the governments over the last few days and few weeks, and it's not something we shout about. But we do have regular conversations with the government, both as jet2.com and part of industry groups, and we'd asked for the removal of all testing. Now that didn't happen. I think they've made a sensible compromise. Pre-departure testing, it was proven, didn't really have any positive impact at all. And a lateral flow test, well, it's good enough for many other parts of the economy, so why not travel? And the virus is the dominant virus in the UK now. The measures that the government put in place when Omicron surfaced are completely ineffective against the further spreading of the virus. So I think they've made a sensible step, but there's more to do. I still maintain that eventually we are going to have to learn to live with this virus, as we've learned to live with flu and the common cold and various other things for millennia. And we should get back to travel how it was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I think anything less is not acceptable.
Okay. So when you say there's more for the government to do, you want all testing to be removed then? That's one of your demands. And what else do you want?
Well, I think if you look at what's been put in place over the last 2 years as a result of COVID, we've still got the forms that you have to fill in. Passenger locator forms,
which are getting more complicated. There's more things being added all the time, and they're very complicated.
Exactly. So those were put in place because of COVID. Why, once we've learned to live with COVID, do we still need those? I think we all have to continue to lobby for the removal of those, because this is a thing, things are put in place as part of an emergency and they stay.
Yeah.
Happened after 9/11, happened after the financial crash. It could happen after COVID. We should ask for the removal of passenger locator forms, the removal of all testing, and in my opinion, going on holiday should be exactly the same as it was 2 years ago. There is no reason for further measures.
Okay. All right. Well, so it's become easier then for Brits to go away, but we still don't know about Scotland, and that's a big market for you.
Yeah, I think there is a meeting of the Scottish Government today where hopefully they'll be discussing this thing. So I would very much hope that today or tomorrow at the very latest we'd hear something from the Scottish Government, because, of course, being a carrier in Scotland, England, and Northern Ireland, it makes it easier for everybody if the conditions are in line.
Yeah.
So I think hopefully we'll hear something today.
Okay, good. All right. Well, we'll look out for that, of course. So let's go back to what you said. You said literally from 4 o'clock when we heard the announcement yesterday that, I think we reported you saying there was a massive surge in bookings. You've said yourself the visits to the website were, really shot up. So, and you're saying that proves that people are really desperate to go away, but this really was a big barrier. So just tell us what happened when the Omicron restrictions came in. What happened to demand? And then just explain a little bit more about what you've seen in the last 24 hours or so.
Okay, as soon as the restrictions came in, as with previous implementation of restrictions, we saw bookings just take a nosedive because, again, extra restrictions, it reduces confidence for travellers. People are thinking, am I going to get stranded in resort? What if I fail my test? What if I can't go to work? The cost of the tests, I mean, as I said, they're still stubbornly expensive.
Yeah.
So that's putting a lot of people off. And of course, some people had a bad experience with some of the less reputable members of the travel industry who didn't refund money quickly, and in some cases still haven't refunded money. And some people are nervous about committing. Obviously not with us, because we had the best refund record in the industry. But it did, I think, tarnish the reputation of the industry as a whole.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So bookings obviously took a nosedive. And how did that hit you as a company? I know clearly you're more of a summer operator, but you do have a winter. You have city breaks, and you have all sorts, don't you? So how did that affect your business?
Well, we are the biggest airline and the biggest tour operator to the Canary Islands from the UK all the year round.
Right.
Bookings tailed off. There wasn't a lot of bookings come in, and also we had the restrictions in Spain on children arriving that didn't have the double vaccination.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of cancellations going forward. I mean, we're out of the period now where a lot of families go. We're in the next 4 weeks. It's couples going, so that was pretty stable. We just weren't getting many new bookings over the last 6 weeks or so. But yesterday we saw all seasons, all months recover significantly.
Okay, that's interesting then, because obviously I think people were saying, oh, good, it's going to be fine now for summer. We spoke to some agents who said actually they saw quite a flurry of bookings for February half term. What did you're saying you saw it across the board then? I mean, do you think people will have the confidence for February?
Yeah, we saw even January was massively up. January, February, March. People want to get away. I mean, don't forget, some people have had the holiday changed 2, 3, 4 times, and they are desperate to get away. Some people haven't been away for 2 or 3 years. And I think, this is one of the hidden things in COVID that people talk about, mental stress, etc. And people understandably and rightfully feel they have a right to go on holiday. They've earned it. And if people haven't done that for 3 years, it's quite a big thing. They just want to get away. But we saw, from this January, the month we're in now, right until October 2023, every month improving. It did help, of course. We launched a sale yesterday for all seasons, all flights, all holidays.
I know you were very, very quick off the mark. So tell us about this promotion, because it's great for customers because it's money off, but you're driving that business through agents, which is obviously really important for our audience.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same offer for everybody, and we have seen the removal of the restrictions. and we want to give people a bit more of an incentive to book, because the industry is a bit behind. We've seen a slow start to the peak season, and we want to give people the chance to book. We've launched a very simple promotion. Our golden rule in Jet2 holidays is the promotion has to be as simple as possible, so myself and Alan Cross can understand it. And
thank you. Actually, it's really helpful for us, people like me as well. Thank you.
Well, I've looked at some offers from competitors, and if you've got to spare half a day to read the terms and conditions and refer to several people, you might understand whether the offer applies and what it is. Ours is very simple: £50 off every single holiday for every single month in every single hotel, 10% off every flight, no exceptions. Every single flight, every single hotel, every holiday, every month applies. Dead simple.
And how long is that promotion on for, Steve? Is it just the month of January, or
we're putting it on for a couple of weeks?
Okay.
Yeah, because we want to give people the incentive to book, to take advantage of the offer, to get the best rooms, the best hotels while they're still around.
Great.
And then we'll review things at the end of the sale.
And I know it, because we wrote about this yesterday. You said it's putting agents at the heart of this sort of recovery. Tell us what you mean by that.
Well, it's all too easy to do things direct and social media, and we all have several channels to promote from, but we don't want to forget about travel agents. They're a very important part of our business, and they've had a very tough time, as we all have. But I think the high streets are still suffering. They've suffered a continued demise over the last few years, with local councils approving out-of-town shopping, putting exorbitant car parking charges in place, etc., lack of investment in town centres. And the COVID period of the last 18, 20 months has just compounded that effect. And, travel agents have it tough. I walk into my town centre every week, and I have a look around, and it's quiet. There's not a lot to go in for. And, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 travel agents there, all, desperate for business, and it's a quiet town centre. And it goes back to what I said, we're doing what we can to help travel agents by giving them this offer as well. And travel agents have to realise that this is probably a long-term trend now, that town centres may be quieter for a while until the government comes up with a decent town centre regeneration strategy. A lot of travel agents have responded to that. They're doing more on social media. They're doing advertising. Our friend Richard at Henry Travel has got the big notice board on the roundabout to attract people to his travel agent, which I think is a great thing.
And you've supported that. It's got a big Jet2 holidays banner, hasn't it?
That's right. And we're happy to support any travel agents, because we want to help them to bring business to their shops.
And Richard was inspired, actually. I don't know if you know this, but he watched one of your previous interviews with me on one of these webcasts, and where you'd said, look, agents, need to be proactive, and he sort of took that on board, and he's hired this billboard, and I know you've supported him with all the creative for that. So I think that's good. It shows you really working in partnership, which of course is one of your real mantras, isn't it?
It is, and I think we have to realise there is a long-term shift to town centres, and I think the days of a travel agent sitting at a desk and waiting for people to walk past sort of naturally have gone, or certainly gone for some time. And I think we've all got to work harder to bring people into the town centre. And I've said for a long time, the government needs to work on a town centre regeneration strategy, perhaps make some of the retail shops residential, make it mixed use, and try and breathe some life back into it. The travel agent model is by no means over. I think it's got a very, very bright future. It just might be slightly different.
Yes, and actually you said that in some of your quotes in our stories last night around how now we've got this opportunity with this removal of testing, but the opportunity is there for agents, because even though these 2 tests have been removed, there's still this complexity that you talked about earlier with forms, but also in destination, there's still destinations with very different entry requirements, which of course agents have the expertise to guide customers through. So you do feel that, as you say, a bit differently, but agents still have a very, very valuable role to play.
Yeah, I mean the independent agents we work with all the independent agents. They all appear very knowledgeable. We've done what we can to help them by giving them the right information, but it's a bit of a minefield, really. You know, if you've got someone going in that wants to go away, you have to look at where they want to go, what the entry requirements are, what testing they'll need. Obviously make sure you've got the most up to date information, and the customers expect it to be 100% right. Um, and it's a very difficult thing for everybody to keep on top of. That's why I'm calling for simplicity and the eventual return to how things used to be, because you used to book a holiday, get on a plane and relax for 2 weeks, whatever. And it's not like that anymore. It's extremely um, onerous in terms of what you have to think about and what you have to do. And it's not very relaxing, really. If you've got to start thinking about testing and filling forms out, you know, it sort of detracts a little bit from the point of a holiday, which is to relax and get away from things.
Yeah. So this point, Steve, about return to normality, you've always said, look, I don't want the new normal. I want to go back to how it was.
Mm.
Do you feel that, you know, and I know you'd already said you were coming into 2022 quite positive, and that was
Yeah.
before they lifted these restrictions. So how far is now are you as a business returning to normal? And, you know, in terms of, you know, where you're selling, capacity, everything on the ground, is
Mm.
it, you know, how much, you know, are we going to see this return to normality this year, or certainly some steps towards it?
Yeah, well, we've always thought that summer 22 would be a return to normality because, you know, after 2 years of going through COVID, if the world hasn't adjusted to that after 2 years, then the outlook is pretty bleak. And I think we are getting to the stage where we are emerging from the COVID period and hopefully coming to a back to normal situation. So we'd always banked on that. Our capacity is higher than summer 19. Some companies have said it's going to be 2, 3, 4 years before they return to summer 19 levels. We're above summer 19 levels for summer 22. We're a very financially sound company. You've seen our results. We're a confident company. Our bookings are encouraging. For the last couple of weeks, they've been below where we wanted, but I think now with the good news that we'll recover. We've done an order for up to 75 brand new aircraft with a gross transaction value before discounts of $10 billion. So that shows we are confident. We wouldn't do that if we were worried about the future. So I think it's a very exciting period. And when you couple that with our refund record and all the awards we've won, I think people will have even more reason to book with Jet2 Holidays. They can be absolutely confident that when they go on holiday with us, they'll have an award-winning holiday. And if there are restrictions on travel, they'll get the fastest refund in the industry.
Okay, good to hear. And in terms of this, I know you're saying your capacity is going to be higher for 2022. Has it changed at all in terms of the destinations? Have you over the last 2 years slightly changed the mix at all?
Yeah, good question. Very astute, Lucy. I'm very impressed. You've obviously been on our website. We we're reacting to demand, and we're seeing a lot more demand compared to previously for the Eastern Mediterranean. Greece is booking well. Turkey obviously continues to do well. Cyprus, Spain, the Canaries is very strong. The Balearics is strong. Mainland Spain, we need a bit of a support. We need more people on that. I think mainland Spain and the Western Mediterranean has suffered probably because they had more lockdowns than the Eastern Mediterranean.
Yeah.
So some people went to the Eastern Mediterranean for a holiday. They might be going back, but the Western Mediterranean will come back. It's all about confidence. You know, when people are confident to book and when things get back to normal, they will come back, I'm sure, to all destinations. But in terms of mix, Eastern Mediterranean is a slightly higher mix than previously. We've got a huge choice of holidays. We fly to 15 destinations in Greece, 4 destinations in Turkey. We're the biggest tour operator to Greece from the UK, the biggest tour operator to Turkey from the UK, and the Canaries, and mainland Spain, and Croatia.
And I know you've got a whole range of properties and hotels in your portfolio, but we have heard a bit about people trading up because they haven't been away, like you said, maybe 2 years or more. Are you seeing people slightly changing what they're you seeing? I know talking about
Mm.
destination. But any other trends that you're seeing that are slightly different to perhaps in 2019?
Yeah, I think people are perhaps seeing summer 22 as a year when they might push the boat out a bit if they've not had a holiday or they've sacrificed, the length of the holiday previously. They might want to have a bit of a blowout in summer 22, and we're seeing that people tend to be booking a slightly longer holiday. And this is where obviously Jet2 Holidays has an advantage because people can book a holiday of any duration,
Yeah.
3 nights, 17 nights, 81 nights, whatever they want. We don't get many 81 night holidays, but there is the ability to book it if you want to. The average star rating is up, the average board basis is up. So I think people are looking to try and trade up a little bit. Whether that will happen every year after that, or it's sort of a one-off treat, let's get back on holiday and spend some money, we don't know. But certainly for summer 22, it's looking very healthy at the moment.
That's really, really interesting. And I mustn't gloss over, you mentioned there about your awards, because you've just got another. I know you love to talk about it, and I don't want
I
to
do.
not give you the opportunity, but Which has just come out with its latest report, and I think you've got your highest ever score from Which. So you must be pleased about that.
I'm very pleased. I mean, everyone's done a great job, from the guys that have worked in the call centre tirelessly for the last 2 years, to our red team on board the aircraft and in the airports. Everybody's worked very hard, and we were recognised both for our refund record, as we were by the CAA and Martin Lewis and Which previously, but also the service we give on holiday. We didn't drop the level of service, and I think people recognise that, and I think that's a winning formula going forward.
Yeah.
Our refund record, the confidence we give people, they're going to get the money back, together with the level of service. We haven't cut costs. We haven't taken reps out of resort like some companies have. We are increasing the number of reps. I think we're probably the only company that gives still a good rep, or overseas custom helpers as we call them, service in resort. We are not reducing investment and cutting costs. We're increasing investment because it's all about customer service. We've said that for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
It's all about customer service. That wins in the end, because people they work hard to earn the money. They want to feel like they've got value for money.
Yeah. So with that in mind, Steve, I know lots of people have said, well, we've used this downtime to really innovate. I mean, it sounds like you're going to carry on with what was very successful formula before, and maybe do even more. You say putting more reps in, but in terms of innovation, are we going to see anything different from Jet2 Holidays? Have we got anything new on the cards that you can talk about today?
Not at the moment. We're always trying to innovate and do new things, and we've been a little distracted over the last 2 years on other matters, but there are some things we want to do, which are we can talk about perhaps in future chats. But yeah, I think we've got to make the holiday experience as good as possible for people. Everybody wants to feel like a VIP. Everyone wants to feel special, and whatever you can do to take the hassle, the pain away from the holiday experience has to be the right thing.
Yeah, and I think you're calling it travel made simple. This is your sort of.
Yeah, it should be. Going on holiday, it should be the most enjoyable, the simplest thing possible. But at the moment, with the forms and the testing, it's not. But when we do get back to the old normal, as it was 2 years ago, we want to make the experience even better.
So a bit of maybe two weeks, or maybe 2 weeks late, but you're expecting a really strong peaks now, are you? Even though it should have kicked in straight after Christmas or something, but it's going to come,
yeah,
I believe.
I think people. I mean, we speak to a lot of customers all the time, and they are desperate to get away. They've been waiting for some good news from the government, and this is the message the industry has been giving the government, that it's about confidence. Number one, the confidence that you can book and you're not going to get your holiday cancelled. Number two, applying to us the confidence to get the money back if a refund is needed. We'll do that. Number three, the cost of the testing has been prohibitive, and number four, the hassle of the testing. People you don't want hassle, do you, or cost? You just want to. It needs to be dead easy, and it's not.
And I know you track it, Steve. All these things you mentioned, is it attracting new customers to Jet2? I mean, are these bookings that are coming in since 4 o'clock yesterday? Are they people that have always been loyal Jet2 customers that have just been waiting to book, or are you actually seeing this sort of, attracting, drawing across new customers who are recognizing your records that you've highlighted?
I haven't seen the breakdown from yesterday yet, i.e. the spike from 4 o'clock, but prior to that, we were seeing record numbers of brand new business tours. And even when you strip Bristol out of that, which is a new base, so there's obviously a lot of new customers there, we are seeing new customers that we think have come from either other tour operators that perhaps have let them down with refunds or level of service, or they have perhaps self-packaged previously and come a little bit unstuck. Rather than having one easy transaction with a tour operator, they've booked things separately and they've got into a bit of a mess. So I think we are attracting a lot of new people. As I said, lots of people go on Martin Lewis, money saving expert. Lots of people go on Which, and they see that our record is impeccable for the way we've treated customers, not just with refunds, but customer service, people when they're on holiday over the last 2 years. And it's an investment. We are a company that's investing and not cutting costs like some other companies.
And of course, you could get more customers, Steve, if you opened another base in the UK.
I thought you'd come on to this. Theoretically, we could, yeah.
Well, there's people calling for it, aren't there? They want the Jet2 holidays offering from Gatwick, and there are slots that have been made available, aren't there not?
Apparently there are, yeah. But we operate from 10 bases in the UK now, and we think there's a very strong proposition at each one of those, and there's more to do there. And I think that looking further afield at the moment would be the wrong thing. So we've got no plans for another new base at the moment, but I've said that before, haven't I?
Yeah, and then all of a sudden.
No, we're concentrating on our 10 bases. We've seen companies in the past that expand very quickly, too quickly. Many of them aren't here now. We want to make sure that we continue to provide our award-winning level of service, and that isn't diluted through perhaps hasty or foolish investments or a desire to grow too quickly and to become the biggest.
And the new aircraft, then, that's to replace old aircraft or additional?
It's a mixture. Some's to replace aircraft that will be retiring from service, and a significant number of those are for growth as well. So we do have growth plans. We will continue on that trajectory. So it will serve both purposes. And they are the greenest aircraft in its class, the Airbus A321 Neo. So it will also go to improving our carbon footprint and working with our sustainability strategy. And by the way, any flights that is booked from the 1st of January, it's full. We pay the carbon on that flight. It's included, so the customer doesn't need to worry. The carbon is included. We will offset all the carbon produced. So that will make it, again, hassle-free for the customer. They can book the holiday knowing we've covered that.
Brilliant. Well, it's remarkable, Steve. We've talked about a lot of positive things.
I know, we need to be a bit miserable again, don't we?
Normally I get you on here for a good old win.
Well, it's a step in the right direction, but I would urge people to just take 5 minutes to remember what travel used to be like. Write it down, keep it in your head, and lobby for that. And I've said before, we spend a lot of time lobbying, and it can be very effective. We've had some very, very supportive MPs who have worked very closely with the industry. I can't go through and name them all, but there's been a lot very supportive. And I think the power of lobbying is very often underestimated. MPs, civil servants, are there to serve the population that votes them in. And I think people should lobby their MP.
Okay, so what you're saying, we shouldn't, I mean, we feel so grateful, don't we, when there's something positive, because we've had such a lot of bad news for 2 years, but you're saying that's great, but we shouldn't just accept that. We've got to really keep pushing till it goes back to how it was.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I see no reason when we do start returning back to normal why all the restrictions that have been put in because of COVID cannot be removed. And I think we shouldn't give up lobbying the government until that happens, because again, the holiday experience, particularly for people that travel infrequently or they're older, and obviously all forms nowadays they're electronic, perhaps older people that aren't that familiar with technology, it's quite a daunting thing. And filling a big long form in, it's hassle. There is no need to continue to fill a PLF form in my opinion. Now, I think people will put up with that. The first thing to remove is all the testing and all the restrictions and get that done throughout Europe. But we should be back to how it was 2 years ago. And I think as an industry, we can't give up on that, because if we do, things will stay in place. They did after 9/11, they did after the financial crash. Things always stay in place, and we should go back to how it was, because travel used to be a really, really enjoyable thing that's good for people's physical and mental health. And if that's the case, why make it more difficult than it has to be?
Yeah, absolutely. It would be a good place to end, but I've forgotten I wanted to ask you one other question, because I know you are in such close contact with all the destinations that you operate to. And I just wondered if you could just give us a little bit of a flavour of how they're feeling now. They would have heard this news where the UK is a really big market for them. It must have been hurting them. So just give us an idea on the ground of what destinations are now feeling in terms of their hopes for this year.
Well, the hopes have certainly been bolstered for this year. And the thing is, every destination has slightly different rules. And as has been the case in the UK, they're very heavily influenced by their health ministries. So the Spanish have some restrictions in place, the Cypriots have different restrictions in place. The good thing about science and the news about Omicron is based on science, that it's not as bad for people. It's universal. It's the same everywhere on the planet. So you would hope that if we have recognised that and perhaps made the restrictions less going forward, because Omicron isn't the threat that people thought it would, then other European countries would do the same. So I'm hoping that over the next couple of weeks there will be a realisation that, infections are going up, but hospitalisations as a percentage are less, and therefore we can start to reduce the restrictions. But I think that there is a conversation to be had in this country about how the NHS has the capacity to deal with not necessarily just COVID, but outbreaks, because every time there's a bit of pressure on the NHS, we can't go into lockdown. And I know that the NHS is working so hard under difficult circumstances, but it's obviously an issue that the government will have to tackle, because a country cannot continually go into lockdown. We have to have the capacity to deal with these things as they arise. And the NHS and everybody has been working very hard despite the challenges we face. But we can't continue to be like this. We've got to assume things might happen in the future, but life must go on.
Yeah. Well, listen, we're so grateful for your time, Steve. Really pleased to hear the impact on your business, straight away from yesterday's announcement from the government. I hope that continues. And for everybody watching this, I hope it really is a real, boost for everyone, and that we do get, great to 2022 as you're hoping for, and we all are.
Thank you. Hopefully you'll be taking advantage of our sale, Lucy. I'll be looking out for your booking coming through at some stage in the near future.
It does go back to what you say. My kids are, they've not been away, and they go, "Mummy, when can we go on holiday again?" Everybody wants to get away. So
perhaps you should send them on a package holiday they can trust.
I will. I'll get on your website as soon as we finish this. All right, Steve. Thank you so much for your time, and
thanks, Lucy.
Speaking again soon. Thank you.
Thank you.